Welcome to the Building and Growing podcast. We're delighted to have Etienne Gillard from Manatech with us. Welcome, Etienne.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here in London today.
You're most welcome. And I think you're probably the only guest that's come straight from the airport to the studio. So
Exactly.
We're delighted, even though the plane was delayed, that you were punctual.
Exactly. I did my best.
Yes, yeah. Well, look, Etienne, thank you so much for joining us today. You've got a fantastic story, as does Manatech. So why don't I hand over to you to introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm from Belgium originally, a few years ago, decades ago, and I've been an entrepreneur all my life. I started my first business when I was at high school in the year 1987, so
Wow.
you can do the math. And then after the high school, I went to college studying politics and law.
Yes.
And then I also launched another business because I didn't like the kind of parties I was invited to. So I wanted to have my own event company. And with a friend, we launched a business about events. And
Nice.
it was quite successful at the time. But then I realized that nightlife is not the best way to live. So and then I decided to move to Austria. Then I worked for a car company or car maker, Peugeot.
Yep.
And then sent me to Madrid. And then I thought, well, I love Madrid. It's amazing. And I wanted to stay in Madrid, but I wanted to be my own entrepreneur again. And so with another friend, I launched a language school over the phone.
Wow.
In 96. So the classes were over the phone, with private one-to-one teachers and native teachers in many languages, and the material was sent by post, mail, and the exams by fax.
Wow.
Okay, that business still exists.
Yeah.
And of course today it's everything online. And but we have teachers in many countries in the world, and our customers, our students are executive people in big companies in Europe mostly.
Fantastic.
Then I married a Spanish woman, a wonderful woman, and I'm a happy husband. And I got two daughters, which is the best I've ever done in my life. One of them is living here, so it's a pleasure for me to be here because I will have the chance to spend some time with her today and tomorrow.
Yes.
And then I proposed to my wife to move to the US, basically to live the US experience, to see something different. And we looked on the map and we decided that the best place to go is Miami.
Indeed.
Why? Because I was at that time living in Madrid for 18 years.
Wow.
And the gateway to the Americas from a Spanish point of view, Miami makes plenty of sense. So we decided to move there 12 years ago.
Nice.
And when I arrived there, I launched another business, which was a fintech. It was to basically replace the check cashing store industry.
Yep.
So in the US, 10%, 15% of the population doesn't go to the bank because basically they live paycheck by paycheck. And on Friday they get the paycheck, but if they deposit the check on the bank, they have to wait until Monday to get the money, and they don't have enough money to eat for the weekend. So they go to a place where they can basically cash their check, pay their bills, send money abroad, and if needed, apply for a loan. That it's very time-consuming, very expensive, and unsafe. So
Yes.
in 2013 or 14, we launched an app replacing that and giving all the services. I raised money up to $2 million. And I learned a lot. It was an amazing experience. I was incubated in a place called Venture Hive in Miami. And after 5 years, the problem was that it was very, very difficult to convince people to try it. The one that were using it loved it. It was, it's amazing. It's way safer, convenient, cheaper. We love it. The problem is that the cost of acquisition of a user was so high because of the lack of trust.
Indeed.
And the mistrust in us. They thought that we were going to trick them, which was quite the opposite. We spent so much money to protect them. But anyway, so at the end, we had to stop and because the cost of acquisition was higher than the lifetime value, which is a basic concept in venture capital. And when you have a startup, if your lifetime value is not at least 3 times higher than your cost of acquisition, you are in big trouble. So in our case, it was even worse than that because the cost of acquisition was higher than the lifetime value. So and I learned so much that it was, to me, just like a big MBA in entrepreneurship.
Indeed.
Although I have been an entrepreneur all my life, but living that experience in the US, raising money, going through incubators, accelerators, pitching in front of audiences, large audiences, winning a lot of contests, and because many people were believing that we were going to be able to overcome that mistrust from the potential customers. We did not, but then I have been invited by the owner and founder of that incubator where I've been incubated to start working with them, and I helped them to build the strategy, and then I started working in a fund to help them to launch the Latin American fund, and in that process I've been contacted and I've been lucky enough to be invited by Moishe Mana team and Charlie Esnal, who is the CEO of Manatech, to join Manatech team as head of ventures.
Fantastic.
So, and for the last 2 years, I have been have had the privilege to work with Moishe Mana, and I will have the opportunity certainly to tell you more about him and about his amazing American dream come true story.
Indeed. Well, look, Etienne, thank you so much. What an introduction. I mean, from sort of Belgium to Austria to Madrid to Miami, and working, across a number of different industries. I know the last one that you mentioned, the fintech industry, helping provide services to underbanked individuals. It's a tough market because, particularly in the consumer space, the acquisition cost is very high, and with underbanked individuals, often, although you're making a massive change for them, the revenue associated with that is not particularly high. I think, Nubank is probably one of the only companies that's served the underbanked and been able to do it in a significantly revenue-generating way.
But the key here is, first, it's mistrust. The big challenge is mistrust. Secondly, you talk about Nubank. It's amazing. It's an amazing story. But it started to be successful once they start lending money.
Yes.
Why? Because it's less complicated to get the trust of the people if you give money. You lend money instead of asking them to give me your money. I will custody it. So, and the problem we had is that it was impossible to convince people that we were not going to fool them. Here, all the success stories on the B2C fintech, it's mostly because they started lending money.
Got you.
Okay, then you just have to prove that you are legit, that you are not going to misuse the information you receive from the person that is asking for the money, and of course you have to make sure that they will give you the money back.
Indeed.
Okay, there is a risk, but at least it's the best way to overcome that big mistrust, and which is really all over the place.
Indeed. But look, I mean, like you said, it's kind of like a real life MBA. Arguably starting a business, particularly a venture-backed business, you learn more than you could ever learn in a sort of classroom, So that's fantastic. And, you've ended up in a great position. So, as you alluded to, I think it'd be great to get an introduction to Manatech and, hear Moishe Mana's story. So I'll hand back over to you.
Yeah, it's really amazing what Moishe did, because 40 years ago, he left Tel Aviv with $400 in his pocket.
Wow.
He moved to New York. He started as a dishwasher in a restaurant, and he was washing the dishes, and he didn't like it. This is not for me. I want to do something else. And then he received, or have been offered to use a truck to move furniture and start a moving business. So then he bought a truck, another truck, tens of trucks, hundreds of trucks, and he became the leader of the moving business in New York, Connecticut, and New Jersey.
Wow.
So, and then, of course, he started buying properties and buildings as a storage for his customers. And he thought, well, instead of having storage and buildings all over the not so fancy neighborhoods, what if I participate to the transformation of a whole neighborhood? And taking a part of, and he was part of the meat packing district transformation in New York.
Wow.
And it's amazed me because for the last, many years when I went to New York, I love to go to the meat packing district, and I have no clue about the story behind this. and now, when I met 2 years ago Moishe, and he told to me, I'm behind. I'm one of the guys behind the transformation of the meat packing. So, I love it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Then on top of that, he's behind the transformation of another neighborhood in Jersey City. It's an old plant transformed into an art center called Mana Contemporary. If I'm not I'm wrong, it's 2 million square feet.
Wow,
venue.
Quite large.
And they have amazing partnership with Guggenheim and things like that. So it's very impressive. In Chicago, it's way smaller. It's only 500,000 square feet. And then 15 years ago, he decided to move to Miami. And when he arrived to Miami, he said, doesn't make sense that a city like Miami doesn't have an artistic cultural hub.
Yeah.
And he decided to buy 45 acres of land in one of the less nice, I don't want to use a bad word here, neighborhood in Miami. And he bought 45 acres of land there.
Yeah.
It was really a no-go zone. And people at that time in Miami said, what is he doing? That guy coming from New York, he bought 45 acres of land. It was worth nothing. He's crazy. Well, Moishe started spending millions every year to activate the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And once again, he's not the only one, but he was one of the main guy behind this, and throwing parties, concerts, conferences,
Yes.
inviting artists, art galleries. And today, that neighborhood, it was one of the most vibrant neighborhoods in the US.
Yes.
It's called Wynwood, and anyone going to Miami, go to Wynwood, because it's a very nice neighborhood, very lively and vibrant.
I can attest to that. I've been to Wynwood quite a few times, and it's absolutely fantastic.
And thanks to that, and thanks to all the other businesses he launched and very successfully, he became a billionaire and started thinking about his legacy. Okay, I'm super rich. Okay, good for me, but so what? And he started thinking about what's going to happen in the world, and he came to the conclusion that we are heading in a world led by China. Yes. Instead of a democracy like the US. And living in a world led by dictatorship is not the same as living in a world led by a democracy like the US. So he thought, what can we do to help the US to remain the superpower as long as possible as a democracy? And he came to the conclusion that we need to integrate the Americas. Then we have 1.1 billion population market, and we can compete with China, which is 1.5 billion. And the problem with that vision is that who's going to do that? Politicians? No way. So they will not even propose it. So they will not achieve it. So and implement that. Who can participate to that mindset and philosophy? Entrepreneurs and tech.
Yes.
And he thought we need a physical place where all the players of the fragmented ecosystems in the Americas will come together to co-work, co-create, co-invest.
Yes.
And he entered on Flagler Street, which is, as you know, Street Zero in Miami. Symbolically very nice. It's dividing north and south. And he said, I buy. At what price? No problem. I buy. The issue is the vision. So, and he ended up buying 69 buildings, in total 80 properties somehow in downtown Miami.
Wow.
Saying we are going to transform downtown Miami into the Silicon Valley of the Americas. And he put together a team called Mana Tech, in charge of implementing that vision. And there are other teams, or the Mana Fashion and Mana Agro. But in downtown Miami, we are really pushing to transform downtown Miami into that tech hub where any international entrepreneur or international investor, when they think about the US, instead of thinking only San Francisco or New York, we want them to think Miami. Yeah. And why Miami? Because it's the gateway to North America and to Latin America. And you get really access to both and to that 1.1 billion population market.
Yes, fantastic. Look, I mean, what a story. I guess to recap there, Moishe, built up, I guess, his business, ended up deciding to, let's say, gentrify Wynwood, transformed it, and then, came up with that final vision at the end of really, making Miami the sort of the unifying city between the Americas, and then that led to the creation of Mana Tech.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and between the Americas, of course, but also between the Americas and the rest of the world.
Yes.
So because I'm here in Europe because we are connecting Europe with the Americas through Miami. I just come back from a very nice event in Valencia, the Valencia Digital Summit, and we partner with them to build that bridge between Europe, Spain, and Miami and the Americas.
Yes.
So it's very fascinating and very exciting.
Indeed. So look, I mean, why don't we dive into, I guess, Mana Tech itself? Because, certainly, as you've just mentioned now, you do have many different international partners. I'm not sure if you want to start from, I mean, if you want to start from your sort of spaces and then the cohorts, sure. I mean, I'll let you decide.
we have 4 main initiatives. 3 of them are already live active. One of them is still work on progress. Mm-hmm. So the first one and the most important is maybe the programs we run. So we help international entrepreneurs to understand the US market in general and the Miami ecosystem in particular. Mm-hmm. When we talk to international entrepreneurs and we have that feeling, and it's of course not always like that, but so many times they think that, okay, you go to the US, you pitch, you raise money, and you get rich. Mm. So we try to explain them that it's a little bit more complex than that. And so we really open their eyes about what is a US investor looking for, what are the kind of metrics, how to pitch to them. And while we are helping them to pitch better in front of US investors, we help them to review all the big aspect of their business, mm-hmm. the size of the market. Most of the time they don't calculate the size of the market with the right formula. Then are they addressing a big problem and with a disruptive solution? Mm-hmm. And it's because it's all about that. It's not about having a business idea. Every time someone asks me, or hey, can I talk to you about your business idea? I say, no, I'm not interested. Tell me, what problem are you solving? Because you have to start always with a problem affecting a lot of people and giving an amazing disruptive solution.
Indeed.
And then you might have something amazing. And if you are good at executing, because it's execution, yes. then you might be successful. So reviewing the pitch with the startups, we can review all those things. Also, they're used to not talk about their go-to-market strategy, just mm-hmm. like if customers would come by magic. So put on your deck a go-to-market strategy is always helpful. And then we review also the team. Do you have the right team? And all those basic concepts that are not a guarantee of success, because it's very difficult to have a guaranteed success, and the journey of an entrepreneur is extremely complex, hard, long. Say that it's an overnight success in 10 years in the making. No, it's when you see that guy he has been successful in 6 months. No, it's behind it. He has been working like crazy for many years.
Indeed.
And so programs, And we run so far like 15 programs for 250 companies.
Wow.
We partner with different countries like Chile, Pro Chile. You know them very well. Pro Colombia, Brazil, Chile, Uruguay. We partner also with organization here in Spain, with French Tech in France. We are going to launch a program with them. We are in conversation with other countries. A few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to go to Japan to mentor some Japanese companies.
Nice.
And hopefully we will have soon a program there with them. Let's see. And also we partner with big corporations. We did already 2 programs for Microsoft about AI for Latin American companies. In that case, we have also we hopefully will soon do a program with Visa, and then we are in conversation with other big corporations, and on top of that, some startups may apply directly to our program. It's immersion.manatech.com if you want to go there, and you can apply. And every 4 months on average, we select 12 to 16 the best ones, and then they can go through the program. The typical program is 4 weeks online and 1 week in Miami.
Nice.
Okay, so and it's really all about understanding better the U.S. market, how to pitch to an investor, but also to how to pitch your solution to potential customers, how to get your first customers in the U.S., how to validate the opportunity for you in the U.S. And it's really a transforming program, because so many companies at the end they say, wow, I loved it. It's an amazing program, super well organized, amazing mentors, experts, but the US is not for me. Or same, I love it, amazing cohort and so on. I'm not ready, but I know the path. So I know what I have to do now to one day be ready to go to the US. And for some of them, it's okay, it's going to be hard, but I'm going to make it because I've validated that I'm ready to do that big step and to go to the US. So this is one of the main activity we have, programs. Then you mentioned that earlier, we have venues for events. And last year we had 75 events in downtown Miami in our venues. And this year, I'm pretty sure we are going to reach 100.
Nice.
And why do we have so many events? Is because we facilitate the venue for free.
Yes.
Because we want any organization interested in hosting a tech event in downtown Miami to come and to host it, because we want people to get used to come to downtown Miami to attend events.
Indeed.
And then the third activity that is live is a co-working space, but it's not the typical WeWork where you just get a table, a chair, and internet, but it's way more than that. It's a place where we bring you our network.
Yes.
So we give you access to our network of corporations, investors, providers, mentors, experts, and it's really a nice place, and hopefully we will really bring a lot of value to our to the companies in that space. And the fourth initiative, which is not live yet, and hopefully next year, it's a fund basically to invest in the companies going through our programs.
Nice.
Because when we find an amazing opportunity in, let's say, Colombia, they have an MVP, they prove that they are good at executing something, and they have some kind of solution that is having some kind of success and addressing a problem, then they might either want to raise money in Colombia, in my example of Colombia, but it can be anywhere in the world, and then, or to go to the US. But if they go to the US, the typical questions that they are going to hear is, to be asked, is where are you based? In my example, Colombia, okay. Where are your customers? In Colombia. Okay. We have a problem here.
Yeah.
First, you come to the US, you launch your MVP here in the US, you get traction, and then I might invest in you. So what we want to do, we want to be the first US check. to
Got you.
allow those entrepreneurs from everywhere in the world at that very early stage to get their first check, so the founder or one of the co-founder can come to the US, to Miami with us, and we can help them to implement that MVP, get traction, and once they get that traction, to follow on with US investors.
Yes.
And make this happen and bring to Miami amazing founders, building amazing companies and having a lot of success stories in Miami.
Excellent, excellent. So, look, I guess just to recap there, you're working with a number of different international partners to make sure that, the best tech and best ideas, if they're going to come to the US, they come via Miami, and you're providing them that support so that they understand, how to raise money in the US, how to go to market in the US. I think the events, sort of that you run is fantastic to get people down into Miami, and the co-working space is really part of that community. I guess you kind of alluded to it in the final part there when you referenced that the fund that you're going to build will be a first check fund. When you're working with those international sort of partners of yours, do you ever find that some of the companies you work with are later stage, or are you always aiming for that sort of pre-seed first check
That's
size?
a good question. Yeah. So the situation is like this. So if you are an early stage company, so pre-seed and seed, you might think about the US as an opportunity, and you might have the option if you find that first check.
Yes.
But once you are a Series A company in your home country, your investors, they're invested in you not to go to the US.
Yeah.
You might find some exceptions. There are always exceptions, but 99% of the cases they give you money to be the number one in your home country or in your region. So once again, if you are from Latin America, from Chile, they give you money to be number one in Chile, and then maybe in Mexico or in Peru or in Brazil, but not so much to go and to have to try the US experience, because it's very challenging. It's a different game, and you have to be prepared. And you have proved that you are good at solving the problem for the Latin American market, but not for the US market. So it's really so after the Series A, it's too late. Unless you are a new bank, and then it's a different story. Okay, but this is one every 10 years. Okay, so it's normally. So the reason why we are helping mostly pre-seed and seed companies is because they are at that stage where they might want to go to the US and raise money from the US. And then they have that issue about the first check. And of course, if you go to Y Combinator and you get the check, that's okay, good, amazing. But it's in San Francisco. In Miami, we don't have that. So this is why we want to launch that fund.
Fantastic.
And we are working on it, and hopefully we will have it.
Indeed, I'm sure you will. And you mentioned a couple of corporations that work with you, like Microsoft, for example. What's your sort of proposition to them?
So the Microsoft, they want to help, in this case, Latin American entrepreneurs using Azure AI to be successful, because if they are successful, they will use a lot of Azure. So, so we selected, I think it was 16 companies, and they went through the program just to have the opportunity to learn from experts in the US, and to increase their chance of success. Okay, so it's a very nice way for Microsoft to promote their customers in a way that it's very positive for the entire ecosystem, because we train entrepreneurs. We focus way more on the entrepreneur than on the business. Why? Because since they are very early stage, they might fail with this one, but we want them to succeed with this one or the next one or the next one. It's a learning journey. It's a learning process. And the one other thing you learn from the US is failure doesn't exist. If you don't stand up yes, you failed.
Yes.
But if you launch and you have been brave enough to launch a business, it didn't work. No, it was a learning process. Amazing. Start again, another one based on your learnings. Try to avoid the problems and the pitfalls you met during that first or second or third experience. But at some point, you will make it.
Yes.
If you learn from your mistakes, and which is what's happening most of the time. If you look at the big successes, most of the time they failed first, and
Indeed.
then again and again, trying again and again, and at the end they make it. And it's really the best definition I ever heard about entrepreneurship is the capacity to manage uncertainty.
Indeed.
It's all about that. At the end of the day, you don't know what's going to happen, and it can happen at any time, at the beginning, at the middle, at the end. It's really a very hard journey.
Indeed. And look, arguably, some of the countries that you mentioned before in terms of Latin America face, multitudes more of uncertainty relative to, say, a company that was founded in the US, because you've got different headwinds in terms of like currency exposure, political issues, social unrest sometimes. And so, often people from emerging markets can be, much more diligent sort of business people, or rather they're able to manage uncertainty a lot more because they're used to it.
They do. But then there is that cultural thing that it's if you are crazy enough or bold enough to think that you are going to make it and be successful, and you are not, because that's normal not to be successful the first time, then it's like, oh man, you tried, you failed, you are a loser. So and it's a cultural thing you find in many countries, not only in Latin America, in Europe too, and it's really. We must understand that this is not right. It's quite the opposite.
Yes.
When I, with my fintech company in Miami, when I decided to stop and said it's not going to work and there is no way we can pivot or transform this into a successful company, many people congratulate me, saying, "Wow, amazing! You tried.
Yeah.
You did your best. Yeah. You did amazing work. It didn't work. No problem. Next thing.
Yes.
Go for the next thing, and it will work." So, and it's really about the mind. That mindset is so empowering and helping people to make it. And this is also one of the reasons why there are so many successful entrepreneurs in the U.S. And also, successful entrepreneurs, what they do when they are successful, they give back. Mm-hmm. And an amazing way to give back is investing in other startups.
Indeed.
And then we have that wonderful snowball getting bigger and bigger, and they take risks and they bet again on themselves or on others. And then you get amazing success stories and over and over again.
Indeed. And look, that's a fantastic part of the community, So I think, definitely for those who are involved in tech, we're used to kind of celebrating failure and learning to fail quickly and to iterate and learn from those mistakes. And so hopefully if anyone's listening to this that hasn't been an entrepreneur before, don't let the fear of failure stop you.
Exactly. No, and really, it's really hard because there is always a problem, at least.
Yes.
And not a small one, a very big one. And you don't know what's going to come, and you have to be very prepared. And I like to say that there is a wonderful way to prepare yourself is eat well and work out, because you need your body to be in good shape.
Indeed.
Eat well and practice your mind, because you need your mind to be in very good shape.
Yeah.
And eat well and practice some kind of spirituality. You need to understand that there is something higher than you, and because at some point, one of those three things will fail. And then you need to rely on the other two to maintain that capacity to manage uncertainty.
Indeed.
And if you don't have this, it's really, really hard, and then you get burned out, and you get in a situation where your life is a misery, and you don't want that. So, and of course, surround yourself with people that love you, know you, and help you, and are there to help you. That's of course very important. But it's all about being able to be the mind, spirit, and body aligned, in good shape. And making the most of and being the best version of yourself. Don't compete with others. Just be the best version of yourself. Do your best, and if it doesn't work, well, okay, you learn and go for the next thing and make it bigger and faster and in a even better way. So.
Indeed. Thank you so much for that, Etienne. I just want to jump back to Manatech for a moment. Just in terms of sort of, you've been there for 2 years now, and you've been operating sort of out of Miami in the same space for a lot longer. What sort of trends have you been seeing in the industry, particularly, say, between that relationship between North America and Central and South America?
Yeah, so we moved to Miami 12 years ago. At that time, it was really a small ecosystem, like one big incubator, one co-working space. I was running a fintech company at that time. Every time we had a fintech event, we were basically the two same guy pitching. It was funny because it was also a Belgian guy like me in Miami. So you again? Yeah, of course. So, but now and then it started to grow, and then COVID arrived. So, of course, it has been a disaster for the world, but for Miami, it has been very positive. It's because the people arrive from North America, from the US, from New York, from San Francisco, from other places, and they realize, oh man, this is amazing. I thought Miami was for Latinos, was for party, was for elderly, for retirement, and this is just an amazing city for quality of life, the weather, the geographic localization, the welcoming mindset, the entrepreneurial mindset, and the tax situation, which is good. And really, they say, man, I want to stay here.
Yeah.
And of course, after COVID, a few went back to their home city or area, but many stayed, and people keep coming. So it's really being in an ecosystem which is thriving, booming, getting bigger and bigger. And it's very exciting. And we are surfing on that wave.
Yes.
Which is also make it way easier, because when we go all over the world to talk about Moishe Mana vision and what he wants to do in downtown Miami, well, it rings a bell, because I've heard about Miami and how great it is and how people want to go there. And answering your question about the kind of verticals, so at Manatech we are agnostic, but it's true that we have many things about agri-food tech.
Yes.
Also because Moishe Mana has a big initiative in Colombia about agri-food tech called Mana Agro. Then also because we have been doing some programs with agri-food tech companies. We are very AI, of course. AI is everywhere and is going to change the world, as you know. So it's going to be impressive. And every day we see new things. It's incredible.
Yes.
It's really a game changer. We have fintech, of course, and Miami before COVID was the capital of crypto and blockchain. So crypto is not anymore the hype it used to be, but still it's important, and blockchain definitely is an important technology. So health tech, of course, for Miami. And then now there is a new opportunity, which is climate tech. And the county, Miami-Dade County, just got close to 20 million grant from the Biden administration to launch a climate tech-ready tech hub in Miami. Of course, we want them to be in downtown Miami. So if the people of Miami-Dade County are listening to us, please come to downtown Miami with us and let's build that tech hub for climate tech. And it makes so much sense that Miami, which is at the first row of the problem, especially for the sea level, we could transform Miami into the capital of the climate tech solutions. Because as always, it's of course a big challenge, but it's also bringing plenty of opportunities.
Indeed.
So let's do it. Let's be the place where any climate tech company solving a climate tech related problem. And when I'm saying this, it's not just CO2, it's way more than that. Agri-food tech is all about that. Prop tech, energy tech, mobility tech. So there are so many below that umbrella of green tech, planet tech, blue tech, green tech, or climate tech. We can really offer amazing solutions from Miami. And Miami also, the connections. From Miami, you can travel to so many places with direct flights.
Yes.
And so it's easier if you are, for instance, in Latin America, to be in Miami to cover Latin America than anywhere else in Latin America. So, and also with the US, we have direct flights to everywhere. And with Europe, so many flights. So very well connected. On the time zone, we are also in a nice place, because if you are on the East Coast with Europe, it's very difficult. Miami, no, it's still feasible.
Yes.
So it's really geographically the mindset, the culture, it's really the place to be.
Fantastic, yeah. And look, I mean, it was quite exciting when you were going through those verticals then, because I guess tech has had a bit of a battering over the past couple of years with high interest rates. But, you've highlighted, a lot of different industries that are growing. I know you mentioned AI in there, which seems to kind of, people put the AI buzzword in and then expect to get funding, but some of the other verticals you mentioned in terms of climate tech, health tech, prop tech, energy tech, they are solving some massive problems for the world.
Yeah, and it's funny you said that. I agree with you. Don't just put AI for the sake of putting AI.
Yeah.
Solve a problem.
Indeed.
And of course, using AI, you will bring amazing solution, and you will bring. It's going to be an incredible acceleration of everything.
Yeah.
And we will be able to do everything 10 times or 50 times faster.
Yes.
And that's the game changer. And also take into account that AI today is not what's going to be in 2 or 3 years. So start building something that can be basic, but will grow with AI.
Yes.
And you will address more problems later on, because AI will grow with you.
Indeed. And I guess one thing that I'll mention now, which I actually mentioned in the end of year podcast last year, was the fact that, like, B2C AI solutions are getting a lot of airtime, but actually it's some of the B2B AI use cases that will have the biggest impact. Like, for example, I heard about a company which was using AI to better assess, the grade of resources when you're drilling for a mine. So, somebody might say, actually, all right, there's 7% iron ore down there, whereas the AI could figure out that there's 70% iron ore down there. And that, from a mining point of view, when you quantify the value of those resources, has a massive impact. So don't just think B2C when it comes to AI.
Definitely. As investors, we love B2B. Why? Because you don't need as much money as B2C, first. And secondly, it's easier to validate and to talk to your customer. So when you are in B2C, it's very difficult to get a sense of what the people want. Steve Jobs was very good at saying that people doesn't know what they want. But it's true, actually. It's very difficult. If you ask people, do you want this? Oh, yeah. Then okay, I have it. Oh, no. Okay, but six months ago, you told me that you wanted to have that. Yeah, but no, it's on my mind. Okay, so with B2B, since you can get the direct feedback from your real customer, the head of something in the big corporation or small company, then you can adapt and get a better product faster.
Yes.
And going through that learning curve about adapting the solution to the real problem, and making sure that you bring something disruptive. Because if it's just incremental, I'm just 10% better than my competitors. Nobody is going to change their habit move from the current solution they have to your solution just because you are 10% better.
Yeah.
But if you are 10 times better, oh man, yes, of course. Or 10 times faster, 10 times cheaper, or 10 times easier, then they will switch to you, no? Because it's all about that, convincing people to stop doing what you do now and start doing what I'm offering you and pay for it.
Yes, yeah, that's it. I know certainly when I started at Revolut back in the day, it will be 10 times faster or 10 times cheaper. And, they managed to be that. And, look at their valuation now. So that's great. Look, Etienne, that's been fantastic to go through, Manatech, to go through the accelerator programs and the trends. Is there anything else that you want to add before we move on to takeaways?
No, I mean, really, it's entrepreneurship is hard. It's wonderful. It's all about freedom, all about trying to solve problems, about trying to make this planet a better place.
Yes.
Never forget about that. Just money for money is useless. You don't get happy with that. It's really accomplishing your dreams, building something that makes sense, being nice. Okay?
Yes. Yeah.
Because there is a say also that when you get successful, be nice to everyone because you are going to meet those same people when you are going down. Because you go up and sometime you go down, and so be nice to everyone because when you go down, you will meet again the same guys you met when you were going up.
Exactly.
So. I would say that Moishe always said that he have 4 C's: communication, collaboration, connection, and compassion.
Yes.
And we have 1 C we don't have to use, which is competition. We don't need to compete. The market is so huge. There is so many things to do, and the more you give, the more you receive. So just with that mindset, you can go very far and bring energy, bring people together, willing to accomplish something big.
Indeed. Fantastic. Etienne, great takeaways there, as well as the one that you mentioned before in terms of really focusing on one's own health and the health of the mind as well. Super, super important. Thank you so much for joining me today. Again, any final words or things that you want to add?
Thank you so much for having me. It has been a very nice, pleasant conversation. I'm very glad I did it, and hopefully we will meet again. I know that you are going to Chile soon. I will go to Chile soon too, so maybe we'll meet there.
Indeed.
And of course to your audience and to the people listening to this, if they want to reach out, we are here to help. We want them to be successful. Anything we can do, we will do it.
Indeed. Look, we'll definitely try and send everyone, your way, Miami's way. So thank you so much. And looking forward to watching the journey of Manatech and, looking forward to the fund launching next year.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Etienne.